the March 21st meeting of the 2022 meeting of the Westwood Recreation Commission. And it's being recorded for further playback on Westwood Media Station. And the meeting is called to order at 7:06 p.m. And the first agenda item is public comment. We do not have members of the public.
No.
So we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone have any items they wish to remove under the consent agenda portion? Okay, so could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve.
Paul moves to approve, and would someone second that?
I second that.
Joyce seconds it, and then all in favor. I'm in favor. Joyce, you in favor?
Yeah, yes.
Mitch, yes.
Yep.
Paul and Katie, you probably want to verbally say yes since
Right.
it's being recorded.
Yes.
But
Aye.
all right, so no one is not in favor, so it is approved. And then the next item is the approval of the minutes from the February 28th meeting, and those can be found starting on page 2 of the document. Does anyone have any comments on those minutes? All right, can I get a motion to approve them?
I'll motion to approve them.
All right,
Second.
Joyce, and then Mitch, you second?
I second.
Okay, and I'm in favor, and I'll go clockwise again. Joyce, are you in favor?
I'm in favor.
And Mitch, are you in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
And Paul, are you in favor of approving the minutes?
I am in favor.
And Katie, are you in favor of approving the minutes?
Yes.
All right, and Rich, I'm not supposed to ask you, right? You make a quorum,
No.
but yeah, okay, great.
Yep, I'm a non-voting member.
So all are in favor, and no one is not in favor, so they are approved. So the next item on the consent agenda is the monthly report from February 2022. And let me scroll to that, is on page 4.
Yep. So a few key points here. So we posted our summer jobs last month in February. We had a very good return rate to start with, which was great. It's been a few weeks now since we did the postings, and I can tell you we have quite a few additional applicants. I looked this morning, I want to say we had mid-20s. So now sometimes we get resumes that feed in directly from Indeed, like an auto posting kind of thing, the way Indeed works. So I didn't go through them actively to see how many of those. Sometimes we get applicants from like Florida, which you just know aren't real, right?
Yeah.
But even if half of them, that's a pretty good start. So it's encouraging to see that we have so many applicants. And I'm not entirely surprised either, because last year, you may recall, I mentioned that our CIT program we had like 40 kids last year in our CIT. So we have a pretty strong pipeline. And
and then you probably have returning members, I think you mentioned, who, had already signed on to work again.
Correct. Yeah,
Yep.
that's going to be the bulk of it. I don't have off the top of my head the exact number, but it's got to be 40 or 50 anyway, maybe more.
Okay.
So,
Great.
yeah. Let's see. And Sue and I presented our budget to the FinCom the end of last month, which subsequently this month we did, there was the FinCom public meeting to review all the budgets. So again, that went very well, and very appreciative of the efforts of the rec department. So that was good. And a very, very important also on the personnel front, we last year we hired a gentleman named CJ, and I have a hard time pronouncing his last name, but I believe it's Weinart, and as a senior supervisor in our camp, and he did a terrific job. And this year he's going to be our camp director. You may recall at the beginning of last summer, at the very last minute, our camp director resigned, leaving us in a difficult position. And so it'll be good to have a camp director, especially for Joe Bertoni, who is the program manager. And he did that role last year out of necessity. And so this will allow him to take a little bit of a step back and manage it at the proper level, and work on many of the things that to and including emails from parents and phone calls from parents, and also doing some planning and whatnot. And he, as a consequence of last year's last minute resignation, he worked quite a bit, sometimes as late as 9-10 p.m. And we're hoping that he can work a much more normal work schedule this year. So we're very happy to have CJ as camp director. So that's a very, very positive news.
Great.
Yep. And we were able to, last month, we got our brochure out actually ahead of schedule. And we had our spring registrations on February 25th, which again was very successful. You may recall that last year we had record numbers, and this year they were equal to last year. So very, very strong, registrations for our spring programming, which obviously we're very happy about. And also and I can't remember if I said this last time, but Westwood Day has been chosen as September 17th. So mark your calendars. And those are probably the highlights. We got the first draft of the field schedule for the spring, which, as you know, is the busiest season for the fields. And so the first draft of that, and this was Kerry Francis's first crack at doing the fields, which is always a very challenging time to do in the spring, and she did a terrific job. And those should be that we're just waiting for a few things, and we should be able to publish the final calendar and get those permits out by the end of the month. So
Great.
All right.
How are a lot of people typically, I know that usually a point of contention with a lot of sports. How was it this year? How were the attitudes of the people who needed fields?
Quite good. We've got a fairly decent balance and agreement. You may recall, I think it was like probably 4 years ago, it probably came to a head, and we've made some changes to help balance things out a little bit. And I don't think anybody will ever be entirely satisfied with their allocation, because they could probably take all the fields. It's lacrosse and soccer that it's the two big users of the fields, and they compete for the same fields. The baseball fields are pretty much either they don't really have much competition for them. So
Right.
it's those two fields and the turf fields, right? Not the grass. And it's been pretty straightforward the past 2 or 3 years. So, yeah.
Great. All right. If there's no more questions, we are moving on to commission member reports, and I think they're both you, Rich. Field
Yeah.
netting first.
Sure. So just picking up from where we talked, what we talked about last time, there were a few follow-ups that I had, which I were pretty much able to accomplish. There was a question about life expectancy of any netting, and depending on whether you leave them up all winter or whether you take them down, it's anywhere from 5 to 10 years for the netting, and so you could expect it at a minimum every 10 years to replace them. There was a question about who would be responsible, if insurance would cover it, like from one of the leagues using the fields. I spoke to town council, and the feeling is that yes, that there would be some liability there, and that's why we get the insurance certificates from the leagues. And then perhaps the biggest question was you know, trying to find out what type of experience we have with claims against the, against the town and against our insurance for issues. And speaking with Maria Leary, her response was that we haven't had any in the past few years at all. And so I also went ahead and talked to some other folks. You may recall I mentioned that I've talked to the athletic director at Zavarian based on their experience with the very extensive netting that they put up on their fields. And I've talked to Bob Phillips, who is very experienced with baseball and has a lot of years of experience because is an umpire and goes to many different towns to umpire different leagues and different games. I spoke to the director of public works. He's a collegiate baseball player and has a lot of experience with fields and netting, and as he was an athlete, a baseball player, as well as Chris Coleman. And one of the things that we haven't talked about is when they redid the firehouse at the softball field down at Morrison, they put up one of those big netting systems to prevent the balls from hitting the new firehouse and going into the parking lot. And my understanding from both Todd and Chris is that netting that is effective only to a certain point. And the consensus after talking to all these various people with different experiences and what I would consider experts is any field netting that we put up will diminish the amount of balls going outside the field, but they will not stop them. So whatever we do, it's not going to be a permanent or a complete fix. At best, it would be a partial fix. And based on the amount of claims that we have, right, which is very minimal, and the amount of money that we would have to spend to do these fields and the amount of time that it would take to manage those projects, my feeling is that our resources could be utilized in better places. And that's sort of how I look at this thing after all the research that I've done. So that's sort of what my recommendation would be as we look towards this. I just don't think it's a good spend of money or time.
All right, so then is we have some discussion and then we determine take a vote as to whether we think we want to, recommend this to the Board of Selectmen or Select Board without your recommendation, or?
Well, I think what you would do is you would recommend that it get done, and then I would talk to Chris and again, I would indicate your position and what you voted, and I would also give my opinion based on my research, and then we would decide what to do from there.
Mitch, did I cut you off? Did you have a question?
I was going to ask, what do we do now? We bandied this about. We've kind of got, an estimate last week, and we need to bring this to an end one way or another.
Right.
So first of all, I want to say I commend the research that you've done, Rich. I mean, so our role as a commission is to bring our ideas to the Recreation Department, Rich, obviously, and having them act on what our recommendations are to look at. And so, and staying with that, I'm fine with what you've come up with, and the research that you've done and the findings from all those guys too as well. So I just wanted to pass that on. I mean, I've been the one who's been championing this the most time. So sounds like this will be an uphill battle. And that being said.
So
do we
then
need
does
to-
anyone, go ahead.
Do we need to vote, or do we just, if we decide it's not going to work, we can just move along?
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think we need to vote on anything.
I think we move along. I think if Paul, if you felt strongly that, or if somebody else feels strongly, we'd take a vote. But if nobody feels strongly,
Yeah.
I mean, I would be voting with Rich's recommendation.
Yeah, right. Like I say, I think that the process here worked. Our process
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah,
And-
that's
and
exactly what we're supposed to do.
Exactly to the role of the commission and the role of the Recreation Department. This is exactly what we were looking for We came back, we made their recommendation, and to look at it, they looked at it and they came up with a solution. And that's it.
Which is that it's not a viable project.
Correct.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think the key piece of information was that we haven't had any claims in the past few years at all. And it's not something that we have a lot of problems with. And while it's a theoretical problem, it's solving, it's not even completely solving a theoretical problem. It's partially solving a theoretical problem. And in a world of limited resources, I would rather focus on things where, for instance, which our next topic is pickleball. I'd rather spend a lot more time solving that problem of a lack of pickleball courts in the town than solving a theoretical problem. And from time to time, and obviously, Paul, you've just shared your experience. It does happen. It's not a zero risk, but it's a pretty low incident. So
Sure. And in the town,
yeah.
our leaders of the town believe that we have Todd Kirchin, we have Chris. Who else did you talk to from the town?
well,
School?
just the
Just-
Marie from an insurance perspective.
Okay, perfect. So the three of them,
Yeah.
so those three are saying that it probably would make a bit of difference. So we'll go on what they say. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
that's exactly what's going to happen. Again, I don't want to mention the L word, but that's, that's the Recreation Commission is exempt from that now because of because of this decision,
Yeah.
which is great.
So, right.
All right. So we're not going to pursue that further. Moving on to pickleball.
All right, so last week you asked that this week or last month you asked that this meeting I talk about where we are with pickleball, and as you know, I continue to have a lot of conversations about this. It's something that I would very much love to be able to see move forward as quickly as possible. What I have done was sort of look at and sort of assess what our possibilities are, right? Because right now the issue well, there's really two issues. The first is finding a place or location where we could put this, and then finding funding to do it, right? But I'm not going to get the funding until I find a place, because as we have a capital budget project, I have it on there as a pending project, but until I have a location that we can put it, I can't get it into the current active year's budget for capital. Okay, so as you know, we've been talking a long time, for years, even before me. I know Nicole, and when she was here, was hoping to put it at the Sheehan, and nothing could be done until the school decision was made with the elementary schools, and the way the decision came down, it still leaves in question what's going to happen with Sheehan, and that may not happen for years. So it's really not, if anything, that location, which still is a possibility in the what I would consider long term. By that I mean 5 years. It's still an option. It's still a good option. It's just a long term option. So looking for other places in town where we could possibly do it. You may recall a couple of years back, again, when Nicole was here, we looked at and actually hired an engineer to do some studies on what we called the First Parish land, that 5-acre piece of land that is in between the First Parish Church and the high school. And that's a piece of land the town purchased, and theoretically we could put it in there. The challenge with that is that where it's an undeveloped piece of land, it would need a lot of site work, a lot of infrastructure. We need to put in parking. We'd of course have to have the site cleared. And at the time when we got an estimate for just putting a grass field up there, it was like $1.5 million, and that is in dollars from 2 years ago. So if you take out the lights, which we wouldn't necessarily need, and you're still looking at over $1 million, probably 1.1, 1.2 million. So again, while that's an option, that's a very expensive option. So just recently, over the past couple of weeks, an idea came to me, and I've been working with some folks in town about another location, which I'm not going to name because there are still some people that are in the process of if this is being discussed with, where it may be a very good option to put in as many as 3 courts. I'll know in the next couple of weeks whether or not this is a legitimate spot to put it. I hopefully by next meeting, I'll be able to tell you exactly where I'm thinking about. And then assuming that we can make this happen from a location perspective, then I can start to find funding. Okay, so I'm actually pretty optimistic about this one.
I know a lot of people have come forward asking for these, so I hope. I don't know if people realize, but we appreciate the amount of work you've put into trying to make this a reality.
Yeah, I meet with Chris once a month, and I talk to him about it every single month. He's like,
Yeah.
no one wants to be able to do this more than me. I am very, very aware of the demand within the town. I mean, and because you participate in some of the programming that we offer through the rec department, and we continue to get more and more interest and including the fact that Carrie, I believe, added a 3rd night of programming.
Oh, she
So
did.
it continues to grow, right? And which
so
is
we'll see
great.
Katie on those courts too.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I have 7 of us that signed up, and then someone else took the other 5 spots.
Excellent.
They
Yeah.
get to watch us. We're real good.
There's absolutely no question. There's absolutely no question about the demand and the resident desire to have this facility, and I am absolutely committed to doing it. I just have to find a piece of land. And like I said, fingers crossed, I hope I found one and I'll know a little bit more. I've talked to Chris about it. I've given him drawings, plans, and he's going to talk to some individuals and see if we can make it work. And once that happens, then I can be a little bit more open about what we're thinking about. And, we'll go from there. So double fingers crossed on this one. Go ahead, Katie.
You said facility. Is this like a building, or are you talking just like courts outside?
No, yeah, that's just terminology for any. So it's a pickleball facility. Like we'd refer to the tennis courts as a facility, things of that nature.
So outdoors.
It's outdoors. Yeah, it would be outdoors.
Yeah, and no building.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Mitch.
Well, I'll interject. I was every time I get to a gathering and someone says Mitch is on the rec commission, I get asked, what's going on with pickleball?
Yeah.
I'm like, we're trying. Okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
So there's certainly a demand. And so that's my first point. Second point, which may be moot, since Rich, you're apparently onto something here, which sounds very encouraging. If not, and let's say that falls through, I think we got to revisit Sheehan and say, hey, we can't sit around for 5-6 years, because clearly nothing's happening to Sheehan until, we're spending our money on Hanlon. So nothing's going to be happening for Sheehan for years. To let that court just lay waste seems like a waste. It would probably be worth it, even if it's potentially not being destroyed in 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years. At least the town would have it. But just to throw that out there, if your proposal falls.
Yeah, Mitch, one of the things that I did do, and to Paul, I think that this may have been an idea that you floated several meetings ago, was to see if there was something that could be done that's more on the temporary basis, but by putting a skim coat of hot top down, just to even it out, flatten it out, get rid of all the cracks. That would be short term, and have the lines painted and whatnot. And I spoke to the former director of operations at the high school, because he had done a similar thing at the basketball courts at Sheehan. And the number, albeit small relative to permanent courts, was still not small. It was probably going to be about 50,000 just to do a temporary thing.
Well, to Mitch's point, though, if there's not another option, like you've been working so hard on this, if this other option for some reason doesn't go through, maybe it's worth the 50 grand because the demand's really there.
Yeah.
So
if I can get the green light, I'd be all for it. So.
But Mitch, I agree with you 100% that we should do something. But at the same time, on the other hand, I think we're looking at, no one's used the Downy. No one has come to borrow the nets. No one wants to use that. Now, Rich, Rich, you and I have had this conversation that maybe it's because no one wants to take the nets and have to set them up and have to take them down and then deliver them and pick them up or whatever they have to do. But case in point, no one's using the Downy when we pay to have the lines done.
And
So,
how much have we advertised the Downy?
I don't know.
I mean, not a ton, but it's out there.
Maybe in the
Yeah.
brochure, like we put some, like a bold thing, hey,
Yeah.
there are these courts, come get a net at the rec commission, in the rec department, and
Right.
summer's coming,
Well, you make a very good point, Paul, because we had people come to our meetings and saying, we have the nets, we just need a place to play. And
Yeah.
it seems to be a real ground level support.
So
but,
what happened
you know,
was I'm sorry, you blanked out a little bit, Mitch. I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No,
What'd you
I'm
say?
fine to say, I don't know what happened to that demand.
So I could tell you that the folks that came and presented to us and asked us, found another place to play. They all joined the the Kingsford Club? Is that the name of it?
Kingsbury.
Kingsbury, thank you. They all joined the Kingsbury Club. And that's where they play.
Well,
So,
then I wonder about the demand.
Well, so what I can tell you from the conversations that I've had with various residents who have called or emailed me is that that while they appreciate the fact that we painted the lines, they want to be able to go to a facility, play and leave. They don't want to have to set up the court, the nets and whatnot. And so it is an alternative. We do have that, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of uptake on that. And I think it's because dealing with the nets, if they have to borrow them or buy them, not that they're expensive, but again, we could lend them, and it just is it's that additional effort that makes it that much less desirable, and they would rather drive to other areas to just get out of the car, go play and leave, be done with it.
Do
Right.
we know how much tennis is being played there? Like the people over in that side town says that they want these courts. We need these courts, we need these courts. Are they using those courts all the time?
I don't go over there to monitor it, but I've been told again by individuals that live in the area that they use quite a bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Especially on the weekends and evenings. Of course, it's during the school day, and the school uses those courts a lot for, not necessarily for tennis, but Downey uses them, especially during the pandemic. They use them a lot for alternative programming and whatnot outside, and they do use them from time to time for PE or whatever. So they do use those courts during the day. The school does, from what I understand.
well,
Yeah.
maybe, next time when you come back, if you come back with some news, to Mitch's point, we can certainly talk about our next steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I did.
You say one more
strongly
thing? Oh, sorry.
I did strongly suggest that, doing a temporary thing there, and I think what you were just saying would satisfy a demand. And there's a lot of reluctance to do anything that could get bulldozed in a few years, similar to what happened over at Morrison Park with those tennis courts. And that's the rationale that I've been given. So
Well, hopefully they'll approve the alternative site that you're
I hope so.
suggesting. Joyce, did you have?
But let's be realistic. If we do get that approval, it's probably a year away at least.
Yeah.
And based on the cost, we might have to go before the town to get that approved as well. So we could be 2 years away.
Can I just go back to like the bigger picture of the eyesore at Sheehan? I mean, I get we're not gonna do any of those things, but boy, it's even just to plant flowers there or something,
Or shrubs to hide it. Something.
So
Yeah.
I was at a meeting with Chris and Todd a couple of weeks ago, and they're even talking about just
Bulldozing.
bulldozing it and just planting grass, just because, right, for those reasons. And it's a maintenance issue right now because it just turns into a bed of weeds. So there's actually talk about doing that as well.
Okay.
Go
Katie?
ahead, Katie.
Would cost 20 to 30
Yeah.
grand to do as well. So,
Well, that would be done internally with town resources, so probably not that much.
So Katie had a question.
You might not know this answer, but just to compare to the price that you talked about to remove for like the first parish land that you were talking about, what would the cost of this new site be if it did go? That's-
I have not, I've not received a quote, but based on other quotes that I've received for a bigger facility at Sheehan, it would probably be, my guess, somewhere around 150 to 200. It's hard to say because the way things are getting priced right now is crazy.
Yeah,
you
the
know,
Sheehan
but-
quote's older. Yeah.
Right, but the original plan at Sheehan was, I believe, to have 6 to 8 courts, and the number was 250 to 300. So I'm thinking for 3 courts, half that ish. Some of it, it's not perfectly half, because once they get there, there's some things that you're going to have cost no matter what. So if you half it, it's 150. So I'm saying maybe 200, and that's probably the top. So, but if I can get the site, I can get an indicative quote very, very quickly, and then depending on what that number is, we'll see what we can do for funding that may be quicker than a year, Paul.
And when would it, is the goal for like the May meeting?
No, we're
Okay.
way past that.
Way
It would-
past that,
Yeah,
okay.
if we wanted to do a capital, it would be next May. But I've got some other things that I might be able to pursue, depending on what the number is. So I'm not, if I can get the land, I'm not ruling this year out.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Um,
I want this
Okay.
one bad. We're gonna get it. Me, I'm not- So we'll see when.
Okay, so the next item is the agenda items for reports that are not on the agenda. But there's I'm a little confused because there's 4 agenda items. So 2021 annual report is the
Yeah, I
first
don't-
one.
That one got by me. I don't know. That, I think that's supposed to be at the end, right?
Yeah, that's number 6, but
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, well, let's go to the things that I do have on the agenda. The first one is a continuation from last month. And I did not receive any additional thoughts throughout the month about this draft, which is the commission draft. So this is your draft. That's on page 5 of the packet. I did make a couple of changes to some of the numbers, just updating them so that they were accurate, but they were immaterial changes, to be truthful. And the general idea of this letter has not changed in any way, shape, or form from the last time you saw it. So unless anybody has any additional ideas or thoughts or changes tonight, what I'd like you to do is just approve this, and we'll make this the final, which will get submitted to the town at the end of the month.
what page?
Page
that's
5.
on page 5. Yeah, I remember we looked it over quickly
looked it
the
over
last
last week.
time.
Oh,
And
yeah, last month.
I thought it was very comprehensive, and thank you for writing it, Rich. I think, was it Sheila found one typo? Someone found one typo.
Yes,
which-
Sheila did, and I corrected that.
Yep. So does anyone have any other comments?
Do we need to move to accept this?
I'd
We
like you to,
do.
if you don't mind.
Okay, I move to accept the Recreation Commission annual report as indicated on page 5 of today's minutes.
Yeah, I second that. And it's the 2021 accomplishments section of the report. So I'm in favor. Joyce, are you in favor?
I'm in favor.
And Mitch, are you in favor of approving it? And Paul, are you in favor of approving it?
I'm in favor.
And Katie, are you in favor of approving it? Then it passes, and I think this is good to go, Rich.
Terrific, thank you.
And again, thank you.
My pleasure. All right, and then the next item on the agenda is really just a preview for you. There's nothing we necessarily need to go through tonight. I just included it in your packet for your reference, so you have, this is our copy of the annual report, which obviously you'll see yours is a summary of what's in here. And it's a 1-page summary. Ours is a 5-page, excuse me, comprehensive update on what we did last year. All right, so again, I know it was in your packet from Friday. I don't know if anybody has had a chance to read through it and has any questions. No, but this is what I will be submitting along with your letter by the end of the month to the town. Okay.
No questions on that? Okay, so next is, okay, I have to go back to the top. What was the next item?
So March into summer.
Yes,
So on page, let's see, page 12 of your package, you may recognize this report. It's something that we've been bringing to you each year after our 4-day March into summer registration event for summer, just to give you an indication of how the registrations went. And there's a lot of numbers on here, and to make it easy for you, what I would do is I would direct you to the top left. You'll see the year 2022, that was this year. And if you look in the pink, right, and for 2022, you'll see the 770,000. That's our total for the 4 days. And if you want our nearest comparison last year, which was our biggest year ever, it was 612,000. So that's a delta of 158.
squash that.
Right?
Yeah, and that one, 2020 squashed 2019.
Right. Right. And
Wow.
if you in that same 2022, if you go in the pink, 1, 2, 3, 4 more to the right, the significant number under the column registrations.
Wow.
And for the 4 days, the total was 4,289. So that's
Wow.
separate individual registrations for programs. The year before, 3,067. So
Wow.
again, a massive increase in uptake just in the first 4 days. In fact, and these numbers are not on this report, but I can tell you that the number of registrations is more than we had for the entire season. Like, we'll continue to get registrations all the way through the end of June, right? And that number is
Right.
just going to grow from there. But that number 4,289 is more than we had for the entire registration season from March all the way to June for the summer programming. So we already have more registrations for summer, and that is just in the first 4 days.
Wow. Well, it shows how valuable the camps and the programs are.
Mhm. Yeah. So we got some feedback from parents. We did make some changes to the way we registered some of the programs. Perhaps the most notable is in years past, we would take registrations based on grade. So if you were entering kindergarten, you would register them for kindergarten. And we would sort of have caps on how many people would register for each grade. We eliminated that this year, and we just basically said register for camp. And as part of the registration, you would indicate what grade your child was going into. And it simplified the registration process for the parents. And we did get a lot of positive feedback about that change. And it will then allow the demand for whatever grade. There's no necessary cap put on by the department as to how many people we're going to have per grade. It's just going to be a natural selection. We have a cap of 250 kids, and they get in. And if we have a demand for 90 first graders, we're going to have 90 first graders. If we have a demand for 40 first graders, we're going to have 40. So it's rather than us setting the maximum or the demand by each grade.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we tried it last
That
year.
was a good idea.
Last year we combined 2 grades together, and that was successful. So this was the natural progression to that. And it's something that we've been working towards. And I'll give credit to Joe Bertoni. He's been pushing for this. and we've made incremental changes to ultimately this. And then if somebody wants to register for extended day, they do that separately. And they could, this year we added the option of allowing them to register for just the pre-camp, if you will, from 7:30 to 9, or just post-camp if you need late care from 3:30 to 5:30, pardon me. And or you could package them together for a little bit of a cheaper price and get extended camp on both ends of our camp. So it made a lot more sense to parents, and we saw most people, I looked at this very quickly, I don't have stats, but the bulk of the people opted for the package of both ends, but a good number also opted for just pre-camp or just post-camp. So that was another.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of positive feedback about the process. And again, just, you know, obviously a very, very successful initial registration period. So very, very happy about that.
Any negative feedback about the process?
No.
Good.
No. The I did have one mom talk about how the website is a little bit slow initially. And the explanation for that, you know, the website bogged down a little bit, and I have a connection, a relationship, if you will, with the CEO of our registration platform. And every year before March into summer, because of all the volume that we do, I talk to him and make sure that they have staff on hand, and excuse me, they have the bandwidth and all their servers are working well and whatnot. And, you know, they test them for us before the weekend so that we don't run into a problem. And Charlie's a terrific guy, and he actually was monitoring the performance himself to make sure things went well for us. And what he told me was that right at 10 o'clock, all the programs open up. And so what happened, the parents are refresh, and it just hit to the server for all these refreshes. And that's what bogs it down for the first minute. And then it goes on. So that's the reason why that happens. And
We will not call out names of anyone who may or may not have done that.
No, and it's funny because he told me this in an email, you know, and then I got the comment from the parent, and I was able to share with her exactly why that happened. Like he anticipated the question and said, yeah, we saw this little bog down right at the middle, right at the beginning. And it's because we could see refresh. And once that stopped and everybody was in, the performance kicked right back up and everything was fine for the rest of the day. We at our peak, we were doing 5 registrations a second.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's almost as bad as concert tickets.
Isn't it crazy? Yeah.
You know,
but
or worse, probably the concert tickets now. It's probably easy to get them. I don't know.
I love stating that statistic because it just shows, you know, the demand. Everybody's out there, they're registering, and it just, you know, it's really nice to see how in demand our programming is during the summer.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah.
Great.
All
So fields and facilities, pool deck.
Yeah, so
Tiling.
we are hoping to have the bid spec ready to go. We had one last question today, and we're trying to, I haven't followed up with Sue. I had a meeting with her this morning. The question is whether the tile can be ready in stock immediately, and we're still hoping to get it done this spring. Okay, and depending on whether the tile would be available, we're going to put it out for bid in the next, it needs to, I think it's going needs to go out Wednesday to get in the paper, and if we can get that answer. And so we're on the verge of getting that bid spec out.
I would assume the tile might be like everything else, having supply chain issues to get.
Well, surprisingly, the one thing that we found is that the color that we don't want is in supply. There's like some kind of beach sand color. We want to keep the blue tones that we have. And so that was what Sue, ironically, one of the distributors is in Westwood on University Ave. So she was going to go down and check that out. Now, whether she made it or not, I don't know.
Okay.
And to find out, if in fact they have that tile color as well. And if so, we're going to try to get it done April, May still.
Okay.
Fingers crossed, we'll see. And if not, we could do it in the end of August, early September. The only challenge with that is that could create some issues with Westwood Day, simply because a lot of our Westwood Day stuff is in the basement, and if they're doing the work at the same time, we won't have access to the basement,
Oh,
and
okay.
we'll have a big dumpster out front of the pool lobby, which we don't necessarily want. We could get that removed, but there's just a lot of things we would have to think through. We use the pool lobby to stage all the Westwood Day gear, and we may need that same space to stage any of the tile and other gear that would be going in. So there would, we could do it. It would just be nip and tuck. So,
Okay.
we're still hoping to get it done this spring if we can find a contractor willing to do it.
Yep.
All right. So obviously we're very excited to get that done because the pool deck is 50 years old, and while it's in great shape still, it will be nice to have a brand spanking new deck. And then I just got the email from our procurement manager today with, we're gonna on Wednesday put out the bid for getting the tennis courts resurfaced. So that's moving along as well, and the goal would to be to have that done in a perfect world the second half of June, right before camp starts. So hopefully we'll have a freshly resurfaced, all the cracks gone for the use for all summer long.
And beyond.
Yeah, that would be great.
Rich, how long do
So-
you have to stay off of the tennis court after it's resurfaced?
No, it's like it'll be a 3-day process. They come in, they'll clean the courts, they'll fill the cracks with this special cement-like material they have, and they put down the fiberglass over it, and then they'll let that dry. Then they'll come in the next day, they'll resurface everything, and then the third day they'll paint the lines, and then you can use it the next day.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Nice.
Great. Will this be after the high school tennis season is over?
So I was out there with Matt Gillis. We were walking the courts this week, or last week, I should say, and that's how we came up with the latter half of June as the ideal dates. And we'll see. He did say that he would prefer that be done, but they could make other arrangements if they had to do it at a different time that conflicted with their season. So
Who's funding this?
the town.
Nice. Thank you, town of Westwood.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. With the 6 nets are all up at the high school, so that's great for those who want to play.
Yeah, and the lights have been activated, so if you want to play at night, and so they're up and running as well. So the courts are fully functional at this point.
Okay.
I give you
All right. So other items not reasonably anticipated by the chairman. I think, Rich, you had an item.
Yeah, so on Friday, after we published this agenda, we received some interest from a resident to join the commission. And right now we have 6 full-time members, so there is room. And I was working with Tish to facilitate that, and just talking about, is there room or is there not room? And we started looking at the bylaws, as we had this discussion last time, and she wanted to formalize the process of renewals for all of you all if you've exceeded your term limits, right? And so what we'll need to do, because there are a couple of individuals who their term is expiring in June, and they will be at or have already exceeded their term limits. So what we're going to do is publish these positions as being open, and if there's interest, we'll go through the process of interviewing them and see if they're the right fit, and assuming they are, they would fill those spots. And per the bylaws, there is a requirement to take at least a year off in between terms once you've reached your limit. If there is no interest, then those individuals that are expiring would be able to formally request to be reinstated for another term.
Do we-
Okay,
Do we know the names?
yeah,
Am I one of them?
no. So it is,
Joyce is raising her
Joyce?
hand.
yeah, Joyce and Sheila are both, their term is ending this June. And Joyce, you've had 3 terms, Sheila's had 2. You can have 2 terms, so both would need to, if there is interest from other residents, you would need to step off, and those individuals would be brought in. And the key, really, and this is really how the process worked. I mean, the only difference is what we want to make sure that we publicize these openings, is what Tish was saying. And she
Yeah, I mean,
spoke
it
to
is
Dottie,
how it worked, but I am also in my 3rd term.
right?
It's just not expiring in June.
That's-
And
That's it?
yeah, I think it's only my 3rd term, but in any event, Dottie would come forward and ask if I wanted to renew. There was not
Right.
ever just to talk about my having to take a year off. That part was, or even talk of advertising my spot
Right,
or anyone's spot that I know of.
right.
But
So over the
that-
past year, we've had an open spot the entire time, and there's been, obviously,
Yeah.
well, we had a second spot open, and Katie filled one of those spots. So there hasn't necessarily been, an overwhelming demand to fill them. So we would have, what I was talking to Tish and Dottie about is that, or to Dottie through Tish, is that we wound up in the same place regardless, because there was nobody waiting to get in.
Right.
And so she just wants to make sure that she, publicizes it, that there are openings, and if there is interest, we'll pursue those. So right now, there still is one opening, right?
So this
And-
person that has expressed interest, they would be, if they're confirmed, it would be for that open spot and not for
Correct.
Sheila's or Joyce's.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So I know the individual that has expressed interest, and she has been provided the forms that need to be completed, the application, and we're waiting for her to return that. And I'm assuming that she will. And then hopefully we'll set up an interview with myself and Chris, and then also get her, similar to what we did with Katie. Hopefully we'll get her to the next meeting if we can make this all happen and get her approved in the near future. So,
I think it's great to have
Yeah.
someone interested in joining, to have a full commission. That would
Yep.
be great.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I can tell you that she's an individual who has young children, and that those children do participate in our program.
Oh,
So,
that's good.
yeah,
yeah.
so she'd be a great addition in my opinion, and waiting for her to apply, and we'll obviously need to go through the process, but yeah, it looks good to have. So we'll have a full board. And as you may recall also, we're allowed to have up to 7 associate non-voting members. Right now we have 1 who's Elizabeth, and Elizabeth's term is also expiring. But we're not even remotely close to filling all of those spots. So again, I know Elizabeth isn't here tonight, but if she wants to continue to remain as an associate, she just needs to ask, and that will be approved. So
Yeah.
so we'll see how that goes. All right.
Yeah.
So like I said, this literally just came up on Friday, and where we very I guess fortuitously had been talking about it in the last meeting, I thought I would just bring it up tonight as a continuation of that discussion that we had. So the process will essentially be the same as it has been, just with minor tweaks, minor but important tweaks, where we, Tish will publicize those openings, and that the folks that are at or above their term limits, as they hit the end of their current term, that process will continue, where, at this time of the year, we'll anticipate this, we'll put the fact that there will be openings starting July, if anybody's interested. And if we don't receive any interest, again, you can, if you're interested in remaining, which we hope you are, then, all you'd need to do is just ask, we'd have a vote of the commission, and then request the select board to approve a reappointment for another term. Okay? Any
And I did
other-
also, I emailed Sheila too. I did not hear back from her, so now I'm a little bit concerned that she's not here today,
Oh, no.
but
But
I'm
there was,
gonna-
there's something, the Dr. McIntyre that passed away.
Oh, is there
Oh,
a-
yeah, okay.
Susan McIntyre's in our book club, so it's probably,
Yep,
Very,
that's
very
probably
sad.
exactly it.
it may
Yeah,
be, yeah,
yeah,
Very sad thing that was, boy.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so. All right, so that was it for that. Unless there's any other questions, that's all I had for this evening.
All right, does anyone else have anything that couldn't be anticipated prior to 48 hours? Yes.
I have a quick, so I saw that the next meeting is April like 25th or something.
That is tentative. That was our next agenda item.
I have to
Yes.
say, I'm away again.
Good for you.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
took 5 trips last year. And I'm now it's number 6, but it's a new county. I'm going back out to Walnut Creek for like
Nice.
the long weekend. I was talking to Rich about that. And my son moved up to California, which is why like in January I was in California. I'm going back
Oh.
out again. This time
Yeah.
not to help him find a place to live, but to go out and do something, have some fun with him. Because last
Have
time
some fun. Okay.
yeah, last time we just drove around and like, made phone calls like that. So if you're not set on that date,
Are you out the whole week or you said a long weekend?
it's a long weekend. So I'm leaving.
Like when are you
April-
back?
I believe April 21st, and I come back April 26th.
All right, so April 26th would be Tuesday. We don't want to do it the week of school vacation.
I
So,
know, and April 18th is Patriots Day.
yeah,
so
so
I
that whole week
understand
is school
Yeah.
vacation.
I understand if you want to continue, if you need to do that, that's fine. I hate to say it. I said I better say it in front of everybody versus
Yeah.
realizing what my calendar looks like. Which I'm still doing paper calendars.
Well, I know, okay, so I don't know, I'm trying to remember when pickleball ends, but I know I do that on Wednesday nights. Katie, you probably do it a different night. It might be over by then. I just don't know.
Mine
So,
doesn't
let-
start until the 26th.
It's okay if you want to keep it as
Oh.
the 25th. I certainly understand. But yeah,
I mean, the other thing to do would be like April 11.
Oh,
Why does
that's-
that sound?
Well, it's 2 weeks away.
Yeah,
Well,
it's 2
I mean,
weeks away,
that's-
yeah.
That's real early.
So, I mean, I think I could probably do the Thursday of that week. And if pickleball is over, which it might be, I could do the Wednesday. Or we could keep it with Monday and just go without Joyce.
yeah, and I don't mind. I mean,
What do others feel?
I would tell you that maybe I'll call in, but
You're on vacation.
last time I was away, I thought I might be having a couple drinks. You don't want me there.
Oh, well, I think we might actually. Make it
Well, it'll be
liven up
fun.
the joint.
I am.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
We can all have
do-
a couple drinks.
We should. So we're all at home, wouldn't we?
Well, I'll be back in the office then, actually.
Oh,
We're going back on the 4th. Oh, look at my
Wow.
calendar on the 28th. I don't
Full
think I
time?
have anything on the 28th. If people wanted to do that, that's a Thursday.
I'll do whatever the team wants to do.
Katie or Mitch?
If we have to switch it that week, Thursdays are difficult for me. I prefer Wednesday. And if we have to switch it from Monday, I don't want it to a night where I'm not going to be able to make it. So I don't think I
Yeah.
can make it on Thursdays. I'm taking a course. I can't, and it's still going on. So I
Yeah.
doubt I'd be able to make a meeting on Thursday.
All right, so let me see. I can quickly see when the pickleball ends. Do other people have Wednesday as an option?
Sure.
There is pickleball on Wednesday, the 23rd.
No, it wouldn't be the 23rd. It would be the following week.
27th.
We're talking April, not March, right?
Oh, I'm
April,
looking
yeah.
at I'm looking at March, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, because I am on the, I don't know if it's winter 2 or spring 1 session. I don't
Yeah.
know which it is. So let me, where's recreation?
So you're talking the 27th of April?
What did I click on?
It, it does not appear that there is pickleball on the 27th Wednesday.
All right, so then that Wednesday would be an option for me.
Me too.
Works for me.
Okay, so the next meeting will be Wednesday, the 27th. Let's just make sure that Angela sends it out early enough before we all forget.
Thank you, and I'm sorry to
Yeah,
be on
okay.
again.
But does that work for Katie and Mitch?
Yes, that should be
Okay,
fine.
perfect.
Katie's pickleball is Tuesday. So, yeah, and I think I didn't sign up for that session. It was just instruction, I think, or something, but, and of course now I'm a pro, so.
You're gonna be teaching the classes in pretty soon.
No, actually last week I couldn't play at all last week. I was not very good, but I've been better. It was not an off week.
Hilarious.
So, yeah, we have a
All
lot
right.
of fun. we have a good time with her, so
Yeah,
she's doing a good job with those.
that's great. That's good feedback. I'll share that with her. So thank you.
Yeah. All right, so,
So
let's make a,
the next couple days, Sue and I will be at the MRPA annual conference, both Tuesday and Wednesday, and Holly and Kerry will be tomorrow. So we're going to be a little bit light in the office, but we're going to
Right.
be having, learning a lot with all the sessions that we're going to attend. And so, yeah.
good. I'm
looking
glad you get
forward
to go to a
that.
conference. I hope
Yeah.
it's healthy and fun and informative.
Yeah, thank you.
Where is it, Mitch? I mean, Rich.
It's down at in Falmouth at the Seacrest.
Nice.
Oh, that's
It's
supposed to be
gonna
nice,
a
yeah.
Tough area to have to, yeah, that's tough.
I know.
You're roughing it.
Well, we'll be inside all day, but it would be nice if we had another one of those 70-degree days like we had on Friday.
Yeah, I hope you do get a nice
Yeah, we're
day.
not gonna, but
Oh, wait, it's the next couple days? Yeah, no.
yes, yeah. So that's fine.
Mm.
We'll make the best of it.
Yeah. Nice
All
view
right.
anyway out the window. All right, so we need a motion to adjourn the meeting. It's 8:09 PM. I think I'll make the motion to adjourn. Does someone want to second it?
Second.
Mitch will second it. Okay. All in favor? I'm in favor. Joyce, are you in favor?
I'm in favor.
Mitch, you in favor?
Yes.
Paul, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
And Katie, are you in favor? All right, the motion to adjourn passes. We will see you all at 7 o'clock on the 26th.